Christmas Day is one of the biggest days on the NBA calendar, and with the season starting in less than a month and the schedule soon to be released, I thought I'd give my dream slate of Christmas Day games. So every Christmas, the NBA plays 5 games, so I'm going to be giving my dream 5 games that I'd love to see on Christmas Day. This is not a prediction, but I think the NBA games would be pretty similar to mine. So starting us off in the East, I have the 76ers versus the Celtics. So obviously these two teams met in last year's playoffs, and it was a pretty easy sweep for the Celtics because the Sixers were missing Joel and Embiid. But now with the new look Sixers under Doc Rivers, I think this could be a really competitive matchup. Obviously, the Sixers have Joel Embiid, who could feast in these types of games without Boston having a great big man. And then obviously we all want to see Tatum versus Simmons, two of the best young players in the NBA. I think this would be a great matchup. Two storied franchises, sort of a historic game. And spoiler alert, I don't have the Bulls or the Knicks in these games. Obviously, they're big markets, but no one wants to watch the Bulls or Knicks play. So I think these are two big markets, two good teams. The new look Sixers, the Celtics being similar to last year, the Sixers looking for revenge for the playoffs last year. So lots of angles in this matchup, and I think this would be just a great game. Plus, another bonus is the Celtics could wear green and the Sixers could wear red, and that's obviously something we all want to see on Christmas. So my second matchup, sticking in the East, is the Bucks versus the Heat. So this is also a repeat of the playoffs, and also a one-sided series, with the Heat winning in 5 games, going up 3-0, obviously behind Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. The Bucks not playing great, Giannis not playing great, so I think they'll be looking for revenge, but the Heat will want to prove that they were for real and the bubble run wasn't just a fluke. So I think this would also be a good game. And then just see if Jimmy Butler can keep up his high playoff standards in the regular season. Is Giannis back, and can he look to win his third MVP in a row and start off the season well? And then so I think lots of angles for why this would be a good matchup. Also, the Bucks trading for Jrue Holiday, how would he fare in maybe his first or maybe his second game? We'll have to see. The season starts on the 22nd, but I think this would be just another entertaining matchup. And you could also do green with the Bucks versus red with the Heat, so that's sort of something I'm looking for in a Christmas Day matchup. But also just two quality teams, maybe a new rivalry being formed. We'll have to see. So the third game is the one that I'd say I'm probably most excited about if it were to happen, and that's the Nets versus the Warriors. Obviously, it sucks that Klay Thompson won't be playing and probably won't be playing this season, but this is still a really good game with Steph. Can he carry the Warriors to win versus KD and Kyrie, seeing them play together in a Nets uniform for the first time? And this would just be a great game. Likely lots of scoring with all the offensive firepower. I mean, Steph, a chance for him to show that he's back and that the injury hasn't really affected him. And then we get Kyrie versus Steph still. That was a huge matchup for many years in the NBA Finals. But this time Kyrie has the majority of the help with KD on his team. Also, KD versus the Warriors. Him versus Draymond would be great. I suspect Draymond would be guarding him in if this matchup happens. So just what the NBA is about with its superstars. 3 great superstars that we haven't really seen play at their peak for 2 years now. So this would just be a great matchup. I'm sure it would draw a huge audience, and in that nice spot in the middle of the game I have in the middle of the day I have it, and I would love to see this game on Christmas. And then For my fourth game of the day, I think we have a pretty obvious one, and if I had to bet on any of them happening, it would likely be this one with the Lakers versus Clippers. They had it last year on opening day, Christmas Day, the weekend before the season shut down, and the first game back from the bubble. The first game in the bubble. And we were all hoping to see it in the playoffs, but that didn't happen. Obviously, the Nuggets played great in that series against the Clippers. But anyways, the main reason is the battle of LA and LeBron versus Kawhi. I think last year LeBron took his throne back in the playoffs. We'll see if Kawhi is really up for the game. I don't know if Kawhi ever gets up for a game or if he's just the same for every single game. Hornets away, Lakers on Christmas Day. It's always the same for Kawhi, but those two might be guarding each other. Definitely in crunch time they will, just going at it. And then also Harrell jumping over to the Lakers and their other new acquisitions in Marc Gasol and Dennis Schroeder and Wesley Matthews to a lesser extent, but it'd be interesting to see how they do versus the Clippers with a new head coach and Serge Ibaka. I suspect he'd be put on Anthony Davis for the majority of the game. So it'd be interesting to see how that fares. And then obviously maybe the start of a Paul George revenge tour. People forget, but just in 2018, Paul George was a top 3 MVP candidate on the Thunder. So he could be back this season. I suspect he will play better than he did last season. Not that that's a very high bar, but Battle of LA, an early season tone setter. Obviously, maybe a preview for the playoffs this year. This would just be a great game, and I really hope we see it. And I think we might. And then for my final game of the night, this was probably the toughest choice because obviously you have young and up-and-coming teams with the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. We know the NBA would love to get Zion on there, just the audience that he draws. So I suspect the Pelicans might be playing. Also, the Mavs might be playing. Obviously, they don't have Porzingis, which could hurt them, but still, Luka Doncic is a huge draw. One of the candidates for the MVP this season. But I'm going with another rematch from last year's playoffs in the Nuggets versus the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic versus Rudy Gobert. We'd all love to see this one. Obviously, in last year's playoffs, Murray and Mitchell had an insane duel where they were both dropping 50 points with ease. And then the battle of the bigs in Gobert versus Jokic. We know the Jazz would be hungry for revenge from last year's playoffs, but also the Nuggets coming off that great playoff run. Obviously, they lost a few players in Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee, but they're still going to be a really good team, and this could be a chance to show it. I just think this would be a great game. Just putting two teams who we've seen have put on an entertaining product. A great nightcap to end, in my mind, what would be a great Christmas Day. So I think that'd be a really cool matchup. So just to summarize, my 5 games are the Sixers Celtics to kick it off, Simmons versus Tatum, the Bucks versus Heat, rematch of last year's playoffs, Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday versus Jimmy and Bam, the Nets Warriors, probably the best game in the slate in terms of we haven't seen these stars play in a long time, and I'm excited just talking about it. Kyrie, KD, Steph, all of them playing well, hopefully. And then Lakers versus Clippers, Battle of LA, Harrell against his former team, LeBron versus Kawhi, and finally, rematch of last year's one of the best playoff series, one of the best first-round playoff series ever, I'd say. Murray versus Mitchell, just Nuggets Jazz. So those are my 5 games that I'd love to see. But what do you guys think? Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.